Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm putting up this video because I think there are a couple of things that people missed in yesterday's reading and in some of the questions that were turned in. So I want to go back and point out a couple of things. If you listen to this video and then go back and listen to Act 2, Scene 1 again, hopefully some things will make better sense to you. All right, let's begin with the beginning of Act 2, Scene 1, and that's when Benita comes in, enters the scene and starts dancing around Ruth, there she is, who is ironing. Ruth is listening to jazz music, which is credited to the African American community. It's a beautiful form of music, but Benita has absolutely no patience for it. She calls it junk because she's exploring. She only feels that the only thing that's valid is African music. She's exploring her African heritage. Her American heritage is all about working hard and getting ahead, but she gets a lot of pushback on that from Walter. Why do I have to pay for you and sacrifice for you to do that? And even from Ruth, why are you exploring so many different things when you should be just focusing on one thing? All right, so she's dancing around, she's having fun, and she's really exploring what it means to be African. Now, Walter shows up drunk. Why is he drinking during the day? Why is he drinking alone during the day? Was he alone? Please understand that this drinking, and it's actually kind of early evening because she's about to go out on a date. But his drinking comes from his frustration at his mother's telling him, I'm not going to even entertain or listen to anything you want to say about buying a liquor store. That money is gone. Just leave it alone. So it's a dream of his that is finally not coming true, and his frustration at his life causes him to show up drunk in the early evening on this Friday night. All right, stage direction is incredibly important, and it's found in the narration here. Walter begins to dance with Benita. It's in the stage direction that Hansberry compares Walter to an African prince, an African leader who is out hunting. Look at the way he's dancing, and it's kind of comical, but as an African leader, as an African hunter, he's doing something in that role that he's not doing in life, and that is providing for his family and celebrating that he is providing for his family. That's why he embraces it as much as he does. So on the surface, it looks like he's drunk and he's dancing around with Benita, but in that stage direction, when it compares Walter to that African prince, that African leader, that guy who's out providing for his family, that's huge. Okay, when George, this is the first time we meet him. Let's see if I can zero in on his face a little bit better. First time we meet him, he comes in and automatically you should see or feel or sense the tension between the two of them. Walter immediately, remember Walter's older, Walter immediately starts giving him a hard time. One of the things that he gives him a hard time about are his white shoes. And he even uses some really derogatory language in referring to those shoes. But those shoes are like a football jersey that athletes wear on Friday, football players wear on Friday. Now, you don't need that jersey to tell that somebody's an athlete. But when they put that jersey on, wow, it really and truly sets them apart. The white shoes that George Murchison wears were very, very, very indicative of the style that college students would wear. Now, George didn't have to wear white shoes in order for people to know that he may be from the neighborhood, but he's not from the hood. But in wearing them, he sets himself apart. Okay, please notice that one of the things that comes up in the conversation between Walter and George is George's father. George's father, we never meet him, we never ever hear from him, but he has as much of an impact on the interaction between these two guys as the lack of presence of Walter's father and Benita's father. Those fathers are huge. And think about Hansberry's father. She had a great deal of respect for him for what he did for their family, fighting a fight that nobody else wanted to fight. Okay, so just as George is finally leaving, oh, and please note that Ruth is responding to George the way George wants to be responded to. I want to impress you with my trips to New York and the theater and all that fun stuff. And she really does appreciate it. While Walter's like, dude, I'm not even buying it at all. So at the very end of George and Benita's time with the family, or in this scene, George says something to Walter just as he's leaving. Oh, let me back up for just a minute. Benita has done something unusual to her hair. What did she do to her hair? We're not going to see this in the movie, but we will see this in the play. What she did to her hair was she had it go natural, in a fro that's probably bigger than Walter's. It's something that stood out. In some of the different plays, it really and truly is a huge difference. It stands out. It stands up. There's height to her afro. And everybody it's a big, huge moment. She's really, truly trying hard not to be an assimilationist, whereas I lose my identity in order to accept the identity of somebody else. So just as George is leaving, George turns to Walter, and George calls Walter Prometheus. Who is Prometheus? Prometheus is a character from Greek and Roman mythology. He wanted nothing more than what he didn't have. He wanted to be among the gods. So, because he was mortal and he wasn't a god, he decided to create his own wings. He gathered feathers and he held them together with wax. And he took off and he flew for the heavens. Only problem was he flew too high. And the wax was melted by the sun and he fell back to the earth. When George calls Walter Prometheus, he's essentially saying to Walter, yo, dude, stay in your lane. You have no business trying to talk to me about business, about money, about dreams, about getting ahead. You don't know what you're talking about. So George is essentially telling Walter the exact same thing that Mama said. He's just saying it differently. I'm not going to listen to you, these dreams, this talk, this thing that you want to do. It's out of your reach. Walter doesn't understand who Prometheus is, but he doesn't need to know it. He knows the tone of the voice. It's all he needs to know. He knows that George is telling him to stay in his lane. At the end of that, you focus on Walter, Lee, and Ruth, and even, to a certain degree, Travis. It is important for you guys to note that this is where Mama comes in and gives her news. Let me show you Mama. Mama comes in and gives her news about what she did with the money. Note Ruth's response, but even before that, why does Mama tell Travis? Why does she say, I've got to tell Travis? And she doesn't want to say it directly to Walter or to Ruth. It's because Travis is the future of the family. And what she did for the future of her family. So those are a couple of things to keep in mind. I hope you guys think about those things, go back and listen to them, and add these things to your whole chart and your questions. Thank you. Have a good day, guys.